All right, our shooter's in good form so far, but it's time to enhance it a bit visually with some particles. Now, particles are basically simple sprites that are repeated and displayed over a very short time span. A lot of explosions, smoke, exhaust from jets and planes and things like that. Some of them could be done with animated sprites, but a lot of those are done with the particle engine. Unity provides a built-in editor to create these particle effects, and that's what we're going to be using today. Now, we're going to create an explosion, and that's going to consist of smoke and fire, and then a little bit of script that creates that and plays it when it's needed. So first thing is we're going to create a new scene, and this scene is just to be used while we're creating our effects, and then we'll get rid of it. And it's just so that we can have a blank canvas basically to look at. So under Game Object, choose Create Other and Particle System. And you can see right away there on the screen there's some particles, and they're being generated automatically. There's a little control panel here. We can pause that and start it again. We can stop it and then start it. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and call this one Smoke Effect. And over here in the inspector, you can see that there is a ton of stuff here that all have to do with the particle effect that we're creating right now. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm going to show you what to set up to create a puff of smoke, basically, just as the same as in the Pixel Nest tutorial. First thing we need is a graphic for our particle, and we're going to be using cloud.ping. So you can grab that from the website and then drag it down into textures. And then, unlike most of the other things, we actually don't want a sprite here. So over in the inspector, texture type is going to be set to texture, and we want to check the box alpha is transparency. Then click the apply button down here at the bottom, and we're good to go. So now go ahead and select the smoke effect again, and we're going to drag that texture from down in the project, and we're going to drop it here on top of smoke effect. All right, now over in the inspector, we can scroll all the way to the bottom, and here at the cloud shader, we're going to choose, this is probably going to go off of the video screen. We're going to go down to particles, and then we're going to choose the third one down on my screen is alpha blended. Now, alpha blended pre-multiply is set automatically. We want the one right above that, alpha blended. And if you go back and look at the scene, it'll actually show that that's a little bit different now. And I'm going to move this and zoom in a little bit just to get a little better picture of it there. And now we're going to scroll back up here, and we're going to start changing all of these different parameters that are part of this particle. So starting here at the top for duration, change that to 1. We're going to turn looping off later, but we'll leave it on right now just so we can kind of see what's going on without restarting it each time. Start lifetime is going to be set to 1. Start speed, 3. Start size is 2. And you can see as you change all of these things, the particle over in the scene continues to change. So you can play around with this. In fact, you could spend too much time playing around with the particle system and tweaking things forever and ever. Down here on max particles, we're going to go with 15. And then down here, click emission, and that'll open up. We're going to set this one to 15, and then click the little plus sign here. Leave the time at 0 and set particles to 15. You can close that back up again. Shape, we're going to set the shape to sphere, and you can close that one up again. Now we need color over lifetime. If you click on that, you can't actually change anything. You have to make sure that the checkbox or check circle over here is checked first. And now when you select this, we get the gradient editor. And the gradient editor you can play around with, but basically up at the top is you can change the alpha, and down here you can change colors. Okay, so we are going to set this up to allow a fade out. And so I'm going to click up here right up above to give me another marker. And then I'm going to choose this one and say it's 100, and the alpha is 0. Okay, and so now we can make the fade out happen at a different point by moving this marker up here at the top, and we'll just set it somewhere about there. And close this up. And we can close color over lifetime. And then we need size over lifetime, so I'm going to check that. Open it up. Click this. And down here at the bottom we get the particle system curves. And we're just going to use a preset. And there is, down right here where the cursor is, there's a little gear. If you click that, and this is going to go off the video for you. But I'm going to choose, there's two columns on my screen. I'm going to choose the bottom one on the left. And you can just find out whichever one you find looks like this. And this is the kind of thing too that you can tweak it around and play with it however you want. This is not critical. So you could, if you want to change this, you can double click the line and get something that you can grab, get another box that you can grab and move around and do all this kind of stuff. And like I said, this isn't critical. A lot of people might want to just kind of play around with this to see what happens and how they can make their puff of smoke a little bit more creative. So that's it. And now I'm going to scroll back up here and turn off looping. And I'm going to hit stop over here in the scene. And so now if we click simulate, we'll see how this puff of smoke's actually going to look. Actually, I'm going to go back to the particle system curves down here, and I'm going to swing this up so that it stays around a little bit longer before vanishing. And now let's try this. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Okay, so we're going to go with that, and I'm going to create a prefab by grabbing smoke effect from the hierarchy, drag it down, dropping it inside of prefabs down in the project. So we've got our smoke effect ready to go, and we're going to do the same thing now with game object, create other, particle system, and we're going to create a fire effect. And for this one, we're not going to be using any different texture. We're just going to go with the default texture that it has. So over here in the inspector, we're going to change duration to 1. Start lifetime is going to be 1. Start speed is going to be 0.5. Start size is going to be 2. Max particles will be 10. Under emission, we're going to go with 10 over on this side here. Under shape, we're going to go with box. And then we need color over lifetime. So I'm going to check that, open it up, click the color thing here. And now we need to click down here to get another marker. And the first one, we're going to select this one, and we're going to choose color, and we're going to go with a yellow. And the second one, we're going to go with an orange. And then we need one more down here, and I'm just clicking down below the rectangle here to get another marker. And when that's selected, I can set that color, and we'll just go with a red. And finally, up here, we're going to be fading it out. So I'm going to set that alpha to 0. Okay, and so now we have something that starts yellow, goes orange, and then into red. And I probably want a little more orange than that. And just have the red at the very end. And however much red we want, we can fade it out and so on. Just you can play around with this until the cows come home, so they say. And we end up with a gradient, and that is going to be our fire. And so now we want to turn looping off. And I'm going to hit stop. It's a little bit hard to see because of this little widget in front here, but we can hit it. And we get something that looks kind of like fire. Okay, it's a little fireball, and that's what's going to happen when the pool pea or the player blows up. So I'm going to drag fire effect down into prefabs. So we've got that, and now we're going to go ahead and load up our actual real scene again. And I'm not going to save this one. We don't need to save this because we've got the prefabs to use. So I'm just going to go down here into scenes, double click stage 1, and do we want to save the changes that we made to scene untitled? Nope. Don't care about those. Okay, we're back here, and now we need a helper script. The helper script is going to create the smoke and the fire for us, and then delete them when they are no longer in use. So we're going to create a special effects helper script, and that's going to go right in here. And we are actually going to call it Special Effects Helper. So let's double click that, open it up. Go over to the website using the link right above this video and grab the code. Do a search for Special Effects Helper and you will find the code, and this is it. We've got some public variables up at the top, including one for smoke effect and one for fire effect, and we'll fill those in a minute, and I'll try and remember to point out something that's really cool about that. Although you probably have already guessed it. And basically, then it creates the explosion. So I'm going to save this, run back over to Unity, and so it's all set to go, except that we need to know when and where is it supposed to fire off. And to do that, we need one line of code in our health script. And so we're going to open up health script, and at the point where something dies, where something is out of HP, that's where we need to put this, and that's right here. So we've got if HP is less than or equals 0, then it destroys that object, whether it's the player or it's the pool P. And so we're going to paste that one line of code right there. Special effects helper, that's the one we call, instance.explosion, and then transform.position to tell it where it's supposed to go. And I'm going to save that, run back over to Unity, and we have one more thing to do. We have to take the special effects helper, and we're going to drag it up here into the hierarchy, and that's what that empty scripts folder was for, or empty game object actually. So now we have the special effects helper over here. There's the script, and it's empty for smoke effect and fire effect, and of course we can use the prefabs to drag right in there. Okay, and what I was going to remind you or tell you is that what's cool about this, having these variables out here where you can get to them, is you could create 4 or 5 different smoke or fire effects and decide which one you want without changing any code. Just make them as prefabs and then throw them up into here and then try your game out and see which ones actually look the best. That should be it. So let's go ahead and run this and try and kill some. Oh, look at that. Okay, so and let's go ahead and take the player and give him less than what do we put him, 200 HP. Let's say 4 HP, so that they have a chance at killing him actually, and see if he explodes as well. All right, there we go. And you can play around with the particle editor. If you don't like the way the fireball looks, tweak it. If you don't like the way the smoke looks, tweak it. You can do whatever you want, but now you know how to use the particle editor and how you can actually attach it to these objects on the screen. Oh, we just got killed. Anyway, that's it. That's particle effects, and it kind of really dresses up the game a lot more, but there's something else that will dress it up again, and it's taken another step up, and that is using sound effects. So we're going to get to that in the very next video.